And welcome back to The Journey. I'm your host, Mr. Harris. We have a pretty cool show lined up for you today. One of the things I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to introduce to you our Youth Council. Our Youth Council is a pretty activist group of teenagers who are heavily involved in our community. But they picked something pretty specific they want to talk about today, and that is subway surfing. And so for those of us who don't know what it is, it's something that is happening all across our city, and it's disturbing the lives of our young people and their families. We'll be right back to talk about subway surfing. So go get someone who you know is doing this kind of stuff. We're not bashing today, but just talking about it, all right? So come join us back at The Journey.
Welcome to the Mr. Harris Show. 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 It's called The Journey.
Viewer discretion is advised.
A warning tonight about the deadly dangers of so-called subway surfing in New York City. Yesterday, an 11-year-old boy died trying to surf a subway car.
No surfing or riding outside of trains under any circumstances. Ride inside, stay alive.
Welcome back. So let me first introduce all the guests that we have in the house, all these pretty faces here. This is our Youth Council. Can you guys take the time and introduce yourselves, please?
Hello, my name is Haley Lopez. I've been in Youth Council for almost 2 years now.
Hi, my name is Triana. I'm also in Youth Council, and I've been in here for also about 2 years.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jessica, and I've been a part of Youth Council for 3 years now.
Hello, my name is Beatrice. I'm a part of the Youth Council, and I'm just getting back into it for a few years as well.
Right. And don't start playing with your screen. You know, it's not, those two are twins. So if you start to look like you're seeing doubles, your eyes are okay. Let's very briefly just talk about what Youth Council is, because you hear a lot of nonprofit organizations or schools say they have a Youth Council. And they have. You're just an activist group in the community that does something. And it sounds good to say you have it. But this group isn't about that. We don't do the talk, we do the walk. We're about the action behind that. So they represent almost all of the precincts that are in the Bronx. We have 12 precincts in the Bronx. And if you go to a precinct meeting, very often they talk about young people. They talk about the very topic we're talking about today, subway surfing, but there's no young people in the room. Mm-hmm. They're talking about violence in our community. There's no young people in the room. They're talking about loitering in front of buildings, but there's no young people in the room. So what we try to do is have Youth Council members actually attend the precinct council meetings on a monthly basis. In addition to that, these young folk, we talked about things in our community as we take the bus ride, we ride the train, or we're just walking down the street. What are some things in our community we would like to change? And we talked about a lot of things, and we kind of identified and focused on three. What are the three we focus on right now?
I think one of the important topics that came up was rearrest. And I think we're looking at, incarceration and reincarceration happen a lot and way too often, that minorities and young people are the people that are getting hurt because of we're not clear on, what are the laws and what are we supposed to be in the know. So I think more youth, having conversation about, what are the exact policies that go on when rearrest and happen, and how can we prevent these type of things from happening over and over again?
Yeah, good thing. What's another thing we talked about? We
also talked about double and triple parking. I know living in our city, we definitely experience that a lot. We've spoken to first responders. We've spoken to people in our community just as youth. And we've definitely received a lot of feedback, such as, if we would get there a bit faster if we didn't have to swerve around, double and triple parked cars. So that's our second issue that we've been focused on a lot recently.
So Darcel Clark, who is our Bronx DA, we're coming for you to meet with you. You're a big fan, and we're a fan of yours here at Renaissance Youth Center. But when we talk about rearrest, that is something we like to have a little bit more understanding on. So we'd like to have a meeting with your office. And we're already scheduled to meet with the 4-2 precinct about double and triple parking, and to talk about that in terms of what we can do to have more of an effect around that. But today's topic is subway surfing. And what came out of our meeting, and we have a larger group than this, a much larger group than this, but some of them had school today. And what was brought up is we should start talking about it. And so we've been talking about it a little bit in our meeting. So we decided to have you guys as a guest on the podcast to just talk about it. So my first question is, what is subway surfing?
So subway surfing is when a person climbs on top of a train and they can either walk or run on top of it while it's moving.
Mm-hmm. And do you have any of your friends like subway surf, or do you know of anyone who does that?
Well, we've been sharing in our youth council group chat. Our member who's not here, Brianna, has a member of her school community who does subway surf and posts about these things. So we have a firsthand, member of our youth who we're seeing doing these things. So
Yeah. Big shout out to all of the youth council members who aren't here. We miss you. We love you. And I think I also be remiss if I don't send out a condolence right now as we talk about this topic to any parent, to any child, any sibling who's been affected by subway surfing. Maybe you lost a loved one. My condolences to you and your family. This might be as a trigger for you, but I hope you look at this as the fact that we're not looking to spread blame, but to shed light. And that's what this is all about today, right? And so one of the things that came up in our conversation as we were talking about people who do subway surfing, it's the why, right? Because it sounds like, oh man, it's such an aggressive, erratic thing to do. You could lose your life on a train that's moving 40, 50 miles an hour, and you're up there surfing on a train. But very interesting, some of the whys. You remember some of the things that came out of that meeting? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, one of the things was the adrenaline rush. Like, they don't get the same rush that they would get doing anything else but being on top of a train, because you're free and nobody's telling you what to do, and it's like an exciting thing that nobody would ever do. So for them to do it, it's like, this is my hobby. This is what I do because I have nothing else to do. Yeah.
The adrenaline rush was a big one. What else did we hear as to why?
Another reason would be community. Like, it's almost like before, when it's still an issue, but not as much as before, but gang violence and like hazing in order to get into a gang. Right. So it's like, oh, if you want to be part of this friend group, or if you want to be a man, or, these types of things, if you want to be tough, this is what you have to do.
Right.
And so that's kind of another thing. It's like peer pressure or social status.
Right. It's what I call, we have a program here called I Belong, right? And that name came out of, it's important to belong to something bigger than yourselves. Right. And so for some of our young people, hey, this is my crew, this is my posse, we subway surf, right? And so that was another one. Was there any others that come to mind that you can think of? Yeah.
I'd say lack of motivation is another thing. Trey kind of touched base on it, but it's like, this is something that excites you and you love doing it, and it's free, you don't have to pay for it, and it brings you excitement and motivation to do something. So it shows that if young people don't have anything else to do, like, this is something they find really easy to approach, even though it's a risk to your life.
We also briefly spoke about social media and how, like, sharing pictures and videos online may create, some type of online fame or community fame, or you're famous in your school for doing X, Y, and Z, and youth or anybody just might feel like publicity might come from posting online doing such dangerous activities such as subway surfing.
Yes, and that's the number one reason for that 10 seconds or to get like, 20,000, 30,000 likes. Right. I'm risking my life every single time I do that. Yep. So let's look at this as a pros and a con. So if the pros are, I get the adrenaline rush, right? I got my little group, my posse. I get to post, and now, I got all these likes and followers that I have, right? If that's our pros, let's talk about the cons. What's the downside of subway surfing? Yes and then yes.
I think one of the biggest downfalls to me is like we're ruining the younger generation. Like, we see that most of the subway surfing incidents occur with ages 13 to 18. And I think we're really we're messing up the future for our youth, and we're losing youth by doing this. And that's super heartbreaking to me.
What if I told you the prime age for subway surfers is 9 to 16?
9.
Ages 9 to 16, right? And this week alone, we had 2 incidents actually 3 incidents.
Yeah.
2 young people were hurt, and one was a 12-year-old boy, right? So very young. And I don't know how old the other one was. I want to say 15, but I can't remember. The third incident is that someone was subway surfing and took a 2x4. You know what a 2x4 is? It's a big piece of wood. And they threw the wood from the train and hurt someone pretty bad, right? So now it's not just a direct effect of hurting and injuring yourself, but now young people are aggressive. And I've seen videos online of them throwing stuff, but apparently this landed and it hurt someone pretty bad, right? So that's another negative side of it, right? What else is a negative side of this?
I think most obviously it causes a lot of physical injury, like brain damage, traumatic amputation, and of course death.
Yeah. What else? I think there's probably a couple, yes.
It affects families. It affects
Talk about
everybody that you were talking to, interacting with through your life. Like you've had an impact on somebody whether you know it or not. So when you take it upon yourself to do something as dangerous and put your life at risk and not thinking about how other people may feel when you're gone and they can't talk to you and can't think about, oh, what are they doing? Can I hang out with them today? Like, it just breaks people's hearts and brings, I know, mothers, fathers, little siblings. Like, it's just a crazy and terrible feeling to just know that the person that you loved and cared for just put themselves in a bad predicament of harming themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
And if I could take a pause and speak directly to those of us who subway surf, those of us who scale buildings, that is just as a dramatic experience. For those of us who are out in the street, gang banging or doing whatever else that we do, the point you just made is a very critical one, right? We talk about this with gun violence, right? When I take that gun and I point it, I got these 3 fingers pointing back at me. So I may be affecting you by taking your life, but with me, and not only have I messed up my life, because maybe I have to go to jail, but then I can't spend time with my mom, my dad, maybe I have children, so on and so forth. And young people, because we're talking about young people, what you're not realizing is that when you slip or when you fall or you didn't see that beam coming, whatever could have happened, wrong sneakers that day, mom misses her son.
Right.
Understand? Dad misses his daughter, because girls are subway surfing too.
I seen that.
Right? You can't hang out with your friends. You miss out on your shall be.
Thank you. That was going to
The shall be. Because right now I'm a 12-year-old kid. Oh, it's adrenaline we talked about. These are my boys. We hanging. But you could be the next president of the United States.
Right.
Who knows what the maker had in store for you? But your life was cut short based on this flow of adrenaline or this bad decision that we made or the wrong decision that we made at that time. So the next time you think about doing that, I want you to think about that. It's like, who else am I affecting when I do this? Am I affecting, the life of my mom and my dad and my children, or the children I never even had? Right. Great point to kind of bring out. What any other negative effects of subway surf? I mean, these are bad enough. We're taking this chance and stuff like that, right? Let me ask you guys a question. Why you don't subway surf? Adrenaline flow. I got a crew of people I can hang out with. Y'all like to be on social media.
Okay.
Come on, y'all know how y'all do. Hey, how y'all doing? Right? How come you don't subway surf?
I think a lot of us, we're part of other things that motivate us in our lives. We have plans. We know what we want to do with ourselves. So there's motivation, which is it's not even a thought that would cross our mind. I have nothing to lose. I'm going to go hop on a train.
Right.
No, we have ideas and lives that we want to nurture.
I wouldn't even want to jaywalk to put myself in danger sometimes. You got to be careful, let alone get on top of a train. And you never know. There's a lot of things that happen by mistake. You got to be careful. You can't put yourself purposefully in that type of situation. That's kind of ridiculous.
You want to add anything to that?
I don't subway surf because I keep myself occupied with things that I found that were interesting to me. I get an adrenaline rush from performing on a stage full of 1,000 people in front of me. That's my adrenaline rush. Mine's is not feeling the wind blow and I'm on top of the train and it only takes 1 second for me to not do that ever again.
Right. So let me ask you a question. Is the argument that you're presenting right now is that there's not enough options for young people to choose other choices?
Yes.
And so because we don't have other choices, we're choosing
the most dangerous
subway surfing?
Yeah.
What can we do to change that? What can I do as an adult? What can I do as a responsible person who's a part of this community? What can I do to help change that?
If you are an adult or you're a part of this community and you want to help the youth steer away from, participating in subway surfing and negativity stuff such as that. I feel like investing in their emotional well-being and also providing programming for them to participate in, after school, especially after they get out of, K through 5th. And once they pass that threshold and they become young adults, I feel like that's when adults should step in and, provide programming that is sufficient and also well done.
Right.
Like,
I know you had your hand raised. Can you hold it for 1 second? All right. You just said something that I think it was a trigger for me, right? You said K through 5. Very insightful for you to say that. So the way most of New York City funding works right now for after-school programming, it goes from kindergarten through 5th grade. Once a young person reaches 5th grade, they kind of age out of programs. I know New York City, DYCD, love you. Don't get mad at me because you help fund me too. But we have to relook at that. So what we just talked about, the catchment of age, right? 9 to 14. Studies have always shown that most of the crimes take place between the hours of 3 and 6, right? Why? Because our young people don't have enough to do. And so we have to figure out, what are we doing for our 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th graders, right? And I know we have some programs in place, but open gym ain't the answer.
Right.
Everybody doesn't want to bounce a basketball. So I think we have to look at some other alternatives in terms of, I'm guilty too. We have a youth council. I got a music studio upstairs. We do a lot of music classes. We do a lot of stuff, bio blitz. Ain't enough. There are 1.7 million young people ages 13 to 24. So we're not even talking about that catchment of 9. Right? So we're probably 2 million. Listen, we can't, I know the Renaissance Youth Center doesn't offer everything for everyone, but I think it behooves all of us who do this kind of service to look at some other things. And actually we're going to do, later on in the show, we're going to have a mom come in whose son lost her son to subway surfing. Maybe we can get someone else on as well. But I think we need to do a segment as well, just in terms of some alternatives for young teenagers.
Yeah.
And very quickly, while I have you here, what could that be? What could some other alternatives be that teenagers might, and I'm talking about just not just teenagers, you're teenagers, but let's be honest, it's not your age that's subway surfing per se.
Yeah.
We're really talking about preteens. What could we be offering them?
I think, like we were discussing already, programs, and not just, general programs, music, science, tutoring. Like, these are things that are there, but they're not as open to everybody. So I feel like even if it's just a place to go to at night, like it's late, you don't want to go home, but you want to do something, it's like places that are safe and can be open to younger teens.
Yeah, totally agreeing with that. What else?
I was really going to talk about what Haley just mentioned, but a little bit more so like having, targeted activities though, like in that space. So like there might be, different kinds of rooms for different kinds of vibes. And I think that teens need that, like, okay, I might have this space that I could go to, but it might not be my vibe, but maybe there's this other room within that space that I could kind of vibe in for these few hours and then head home instead of being outside and doing things I'm not supposed to do.
Yes.
So having options within that space. But yeah, I agree. So
yes. Can we give a silent hand clap for these young ladies? I'm just so impressed with you guys because you are so astute. Your mindfulness, you understand the community. You guys speak really well. You're amazing. And I know I could take up a lot of time on the show just giving you guys your accolades because they don't know how dope you guys really are. There are a lot of other young ladies that are on the youth council. We have one young man.
Right.
So my question, where I'm going with this now, is like most of subway surfing is young boys. What can we do? What can we do to attract them more, to entice them more to want to be a part of other types of programming? Any ideas? Anything comes to mind? I know some of you guys have younger siblings as well. Yeah.
I think it has a lot to do with ease of access. So there's certain programs or things like music or bands, sports that you have to like audition for or like already be qualified for. So it's like harder to access and just get into a community. And I feel like, again, as one of the reasons we discussed was a sense of community. So I feel like programs that are easy to get into, easy to explore, and if you don't like it, you can try something else. So I think programs that are more diverse beyond just music and sports, and
Yes.
And also navigation through those programs. Like we always talk about, our app that we created.
YouConnect NYC.
Yeah. YouConnect NYC. So we created an app. Mr. Harris basically worked with the Youth Council to create a directory of all the programs that we have in New York City. And us as youth, we would go out and explore these programs and we would rank them. And there's different, levels to this app that we will be developing in the future. This is not an initiative that has disappeared.
Yeah.
We're going to continue developing this directory so that you can, have a place to go and just, if I want to do skiing, if I want to do this, and I live in the Bronx, maybe I could find it. You never know. Maybe there's a train that could get me to American Dream. There's an indoor ski park over there. There's things like that. Maybe there's a youth that doesn't know and there's a parent that's willing to make the travel. So it's all about providing this information and like Haley said, ease of access and a directory that the youth, forefront definitely will create a better experience for youth looking for programs.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for bringing that up. We're going to talk more about that in another segment, YouConnect NYC. You're right. We need to bring that back. I want to slowly start to close out this segment of the show. But, I want you all to take a minute. I want you to look into the camera. And I want you to speak to a young person that might be subway surfing, because you look like them. When I say it, that's pop talking. That's my grandfather. He loves me. He doesn't want me doing this. But you're still a young person, a young, youthful person. Can you look at them and explain, why you feel they should not be subway surfing?
So what I would say to you is that I would rather you be safe so that I won't be sorry. Like, I feel like seeing these things happen on the news and seeing people risking their life like this, I'm sorry and I'm hurt that we're even in this kind of mindset, we're even in this kind of thinking, as a generation, as a world, this is not where we should be. So for me to you, I don't want to be sorry no more. I want us to all encourage each other and I want us to be have a better future. So yeah, let's do better.
Thank you. Safe, not sorry. Love it.
That's good. What I would say to anyone who participates in subway surfing is you're capable of so much more. If you think this is exciting for you, just imagine everything that life is holding and waiting on you. So instead of just sticking to one thing that excites you right now, find something that will excite you forever.
Oh,
this is deep. What? I'm gonna go next. I'm not doing it. I would say to you, don't lose your shot at being something more than yourself. I always told my younger siblings and my older siblings, I feel like because I had support from them, it was easy for me to know what I wanted to do and set goals for myself and achieve what I want to be. So put yourself in an environment around people who care and people who want to see you do better. When you see and you feel the encouragement and you feel the passion that you get for this so-called thing that you'll choose to find, you'll look back and be like, wow, why did I even do that? I'm doing so much better. I have more goals. I have more passions. I'm taking care of myself. Take care of yourself first. Don't let anybody peer pressure you into something that you don't want to do because you never know what's going to happen.
Great. No pressure.
What I would say to somebody who subway surfs is to think about your mom and think about how she would feel, reading that you weren't safe, but she has to be sorry in that circumstance that she has to go through from there on. Your whole family, whether that's your brothers, your sisters, your guardian, whoever that is. So that's what I would say to them. Amazing.
I don't know how to follow that, so I'm not even going to try. But here's what I will say. And one of the things we didn't talk about NYPD's involvement. We have been talking very close with NYPD here at the 4-8 precinct. They have the drones that they work with where they find the young people at subway surfing. It's a good and bad thing. The drones go out, they deploy, they see your face, and they go back and they arrest these young people, right? And then they see your parents, and they talk to your parents about subway surfing. And guess what? Most of the time, those kids are right back subway surfing. So it's not like NYPD is not trying to do anything. It's just not enough, which is why the conversation came up here. Let's start the conversation. And so what I want to say in closing is, if you're listening to this, if you hear this, and if you know someone who even look like they might want to try subway surfing, speak life to them. Tell them there are other options. Offer them another program. Do a little bit of research on your own. Offer that young person another program, whether it's engineering, whether it's robotic, taking agriculture, maybe it's a sports program. Offer them something else. Belong to something else besides belonging to that, which is very detrimental to our young people. So we need to do this as a community. This is not an effort for our government. This is not an effort just for our NYPD. This is an effort for us as a community. So young people, if you're doing it, please stop. We love you. We want to see you be around. I'm going to need somebody to take care of me when I'm old. All right. It might be you. Who knows? All right. So in closing, thank you guys for tuning in. I want to give a big hand clap to my guests. This is really their house, the Youth Council, for the amazing work that they're doing. And for those of us who might be interested in joining the Youth Council, if you live in the Bronx area, we meet every Tuesday night. Come in and join. These guys are a part of so many things. All right. And come join and be a part. Again, thanks for joining in on the journey. Stay tuned, though, for part 2 of this, because we're going to continue talking about this subway surfing thing. All right? Love you.
Welcome to the Mr. Harris Show. 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 It's called The Journey.